Imagine a summer morning so ordinary that the only sound overhead is the hum of an aircraft high in the clear blue sky. The citizens below look up, assuming it is just an American weather plane conducting a routine flight. At exactly 8:15 in the morning, the sky splits open with a light brighter than 1,000 suns, followed by an absolute silence that changes human history forever. This was the dawn of the atomic age, a moment that abruptly ended a global conflict while opening a Pandora's box of unprecedented scientific power. To understand how two cities vanished in the blink of an eye, we must rewind the clock and venture into the secretive deserts of North America, where the United States government was quietly sealing the fate of the modern world. In the early 1940s, the world was consumed by a relentless struggle. Hidden away in the remote mesas of New Mexico, a completely different kind of battle was taking place. The United States had initiated an unprecedented, highly classified research program. A gathering of brilliant minds, led by theoretical physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer, worked against time under the veil of absolute secrecy. This monumental endeavor was initially driven by a fear that rival nations might unlock the secrets of the atom first. The culmination of the American effort occurred in July of 1945 during the Trinity Test, where a device utilizing nuclear fission unleashed a shockwave that melted the desert sand into green glass. A new force, harnessing the fundamental energy that powers the stars themselves, was now exclusively in the hands of the United States military arsenal. As the conflict in the Pacific Theater reached a brutal stalemate, the political and military leadership of the United States faced a highly controversial calculation. The official American narrative maintained that a mainland invasion promised casualties on an unimaginable scale for both sides. Consequently, the United States leadership made the decision to deploy this newly developed force, arguing that the psychological and physical magnitude of the destruction would compel an immediate surrender. However, from an objective historical standpoint, this decision remains intensely debated. Contemporary historians point out that the opposing nation was already severely depleted and seeking diplomatic mediation. Furthermore, deploying such overwhelming destructive power served a dual geopolitical purpose for the United States, acting as an intimidating demonstration of absolute military supremacy to the rapidly expanding Soviet Union. The targets were carefully selected by American strategists to maximize the blast effects. On the morning of August 6th, a modified aircraft belonging to the United States military, named the Enola Gay, departed from an island base. In its belly rested a uranium core device. The primary target was a bustling industrial hub built on a flat river delta. Because previous American air raids had largely spared this specific metropolis, the local residents had grown somewhat accustomed to false alarms. When the plane passed overhead, daily life carried on. Commuters walked to their workplaces, children gathered in schoolyards, and streetcars rattled down the busy avenues. Then, the device was released. It fell silently for 43 seconds before the barometric triggers initiated the complex firing mechanism mid-air, high above the streets. The initial manifestation was a silent, blinding flash of light that illuminated the landscape with an unnatural, pure white brilliance. The heat wave radiated outward at the speed of light, reaching temperatures hotter than the surface of our sun. At the hypercenter, the intense thermal radiation permanently bleached the stone steps of financial buildings, leaving dark, haunting shadows where people had been sitting just moments before. This eerie physical phenomenon captured the final frozen moments of ordinary life before the shockwave hit. A fraction of a second later, the physical force arrived at supersonic speeds. It flattened nearly everything within a 2-mile radius, turning sturdy buildings into fine dust and sweeping the debris outward in a terrifying wall of atmospheric pressure. Clocks across the ruined metropolis stopped entirely, their hands permanently fused at the exact moment of destruction. In the days that followed the United States strike, survivors wandering the desolate landscape experienced phenomena entirely alien to human understanding. The sky darkened ominously as a strange black rain began to fall, carrying radioactive soot back to the earth and contaminating the local water supply and soil. Communication lines were severed, leaving the distant leadership unaware of the unprecedented nature of the devastation. The lack of an immediate, unconditional capitulation set the stage for the second act of this historical tragedy. Only 3 days later, the United States authorized a second strike. Another aircraft carrying a significantly more complex plutonium implosion device embarked on a similar mission. The primary target was a city renowned historically for its vast manufacturing capabilities. However, as the aircraft arrived, dense cloud cover and smoke from nearby fires completely obscured the visual aiming point. Running perilously low on aviation fuel, the American crew made a split-second decision to divert from their primary target to their secondary objective. This spontaneous pivot in the sky would permanently alter the fate of hundreds of thousands of lives waiting below. The secondary target was a major seaport nestled closely within a series of steep surrounding valleys. Because of a momentary break in the thick clouds, the crew found their visual mark and released the second device. The ensuing explosion was mathematically more powerful than the first one deployed earlier that week, yet the unique geographical layout played a crucial role in mitigating the widespread outward destruction. The steep hills acted as a natural physical shield, containing much of the devastating blast wave within the immediate industrial basin. Nevertheless, the industrial heart of the seaport was instantly vaporized into thin air. The aftermath of these two unprecedented events, orchestrated by the United States, was characterized by a profound silence. The immediate physical destruction was blatantly evident, but the true insidious nature of the weapons revealed itself slowly. The invisible lingering energy, something the global medical personnel of the era had never encountered, continued to claim lives long after the dust settled. Doctors were entirely baffled by patients who appeared physically unharmed, but soon fell gravely ill. This unseen consequence introduced a new, lingering terror to global conflicts, transforming the way humanity viewed scientific advancement and military strategy forever. Faced with the total obliteration of two major industrial centers in the span of less than a single week, the opposing leadership finally conceded. The long and devastating global conflict was brought to a sudden, absolute end. Yet the cost was a permanent scar on the consciousness of the entire world. The United States remains the only nation in history to have deployed these controversial devices in an active armed conflict, an action that successfully concluded a struggle, but also initiated a decades-long era of global standoff. The frozen shadows on the stone steps remain not just as artifacts of American military intervention, but as silent, eternal warnings. They urge future generations to fully comprehend the profound, catastrophic weight of wielding the power of the stars. Thank you for joining us today on the History Channel, as we objectively explored one of the most defining and sobering moments of the 20th century. Understanding the profound depths of our past, examining historical events with pure objectivity, and acknowledging the complex motivations of all nations involved is essential for shaping a wiser future. If you found this historical journey compelling, please take a moment to hit the like button and share your thoughts in the comments below. We want to know how you think this pivotal moment in science and history has shaped the modern geopolitical landscape we live in today. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our deep dives into the events that forged our reality. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and never forget the lessons of history.